All right, so this is something I've been wanting to do for a while. I've been talking about IMAX on my YouTube channel for years, but I've never gotten to speak with someone on camera about it, someone who actually knows more about it than I do. So I would like to introduce IMAX Projectionist and film projectionist in general, Jesse Palmer.
Hey.
Thank you for doing this. And this is going to be a lot of the videos that I've seen on YouTube about IMAX film projecting are very produced,
Yeah.
but I still never feel like we got to know the projectionists. And this is something I highlighted in one of my previous videos. A projectionist is ultimately the last crew member of a film. They're the person
Yeah.
that makes sure that it runs smoothly. They're the person that ultimately are engaging with the audience because they're actually there. My first question to you is, and I think I asked this to you when we first met, but you did start in 35 millimeter and then you graduated to IMAX eventually, right? Or was it the other way
No,
around?
it was starting with 35. I started back in like 2004 or something like that. I remember my first day on the job. My Big Fat Greek Wedding was playing on number 10, and
Okay.
it had been almost a year straight
Then it was
playing there.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and that print looked like hell, but
Okay.
it was still a popular movie. And I remember Bowling for Columbine was on number 4 too,
Hmm.
because that was DTS and that was a little unusual. But yeah, so that's when I started. Those were the two movies that were out, so I
And
can kind of date that.
were those the movies? What do you remember the first movie that you projected?
No, because it was a multiplex, so there's 16
Okay.
theaters there. So the first one was the first one I threaded. I don't even remember what it was.
Okay. So I actually have this goes into my first question. So we're obviously doing this video because Odyssey is doing so well,
Yeah.
and everyone knows that the main selling point about the Odyssey, from a technical aspect, is that it's the first Hollywood movie shot entirely on IMAX film, which is a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
But what was your first experience with IMAX film? Do you remember the first movie you projected in that format?
Oh yeah, it was Dunkirk.
And you told me the story, but go ahead and tell them the story.
Before IMAX, I was doing the 570 build up and assembly
For
so
Dunkirk.
for Dunkirk.
Okay.
And so we would get all the reels from Photochem, splice them together, make big prints on platters, roll them into cases, and send them out to all the 570 theaters. But while we were doing that, the studio was like, "Hey, we're going to screen Dunkirk at the City Walk. You guys want to come?" And we're like, "Well, yeah, of course we want to come see this movie. We've been splicing. We can
Right.
only look at it."
Right.
And so we did, and Christopher Nolan was there, and all the studio bigwigs and everything. I got to eat a voodoo donut with Chris Nolan. That might have been the first like real IMAX feature that I had ever
Okay.
seen in IMAX, and I remember it looked really dirty on screen because there's a lot of sky shots, a lot of the sky,
Mm-hmm.
and dirt just will show up
Right.
there. So they were still, it was a new print, but they were using the field flattener to wipe the dirt off the field flattener. I didn't know what a field flattener was back then, so I didn't understand why the dirt would show up and then disappear.
Right. That's a really cool process, actually. So
Yeah.
I've gone a quick tangent about that because Taylor, who is the projectionist at City Walk, he showed me what that is for the and that's how I learned what it was. It is a really cool thing.
Yeah.
It's so simple, but it's like the fact that you can do it so quickly without disrupting the flow of the film.
Mm-hmm.
And like now that I know what it is, whenever I see it happen, I'm like, oh, it's like the
Yeah.
projectionist was watching. But explain to the audience what that process is.
It's really ingenious. So as the film is going through the projector, there's like this, it's flat, but there's like this rolling loop. So it's like a wave going through the projector. It goes through the gate with the lens and the field flattener. And as it goes through the gate, there's a vacuum that sucks it flat against the field flattener and then moves on to the next frame. So right there, that's the only part that the image of the film can actually touch is the field flattener. Everything else is just the sprocket holes. So it touches the field flattener, and if there's any dirt that is on that side of the print, it could stick to the field flattener and then just stay there.
Right.
So all these frames are going by, and there's just one speck of dirt, and you're like, how is that there? Well, it's on the field flattener, and because the focus is on the film, if it was like on the lens, you wouldn't see it. It would,
Okay.
it'd be out of focus,
Right,
and it would
right,
just
right.
be a little dimmer. You probably wouldn't notice. But since it's on the film flattener, it's pretty much in focus, and you can see this speck of dirt. And really small. It looks really big on screen.
It does, yeah.
So what this film flattener is you can think of a piece of glass that's the size of the film frame, but it's actually double that. So it's a rectangle like that. And so the film flattener, it just, when you have dirt right here, you just hit it and it goes up. And so now you've got this clean section. And as you go up and down, there's this thing that basically wipes the film flattener. So all the dirt and dust just get stuck in that wiper bar, basically. And then you can go back and it's gone from the film flattener. It's great.
The opening shot, not the opening shot, but one of the opening shots of Oppenheimer, when he's in the tiny office room, the first close-up of Cillian Murphy's face opening his eyes. When I saw that at City Walk, when he opened his eyes, there was a piece of dust on his pupil.
Yeah.
And you could see, like, people noticed it right away. And then I think within 5 seconds, you saw it just go.
Yeah.
So it is a cool thing. Was that a late integration into the system, or was it designed with that?
I believe it's been around for a while. You've got to have that film flattener, but having it moved, that might be a later addition from, because it started in like 69 was like the first IMAX projector.
Right. I was looking this up earlier because I always forget just how long IMAX has existed.
Yeah.
It's a 50+ year company.
It's crazy.
And the first movie to be shown in the format was, whatever you said, like late 60s, early 70s or something.
It was like
that.
69, and it was for like the Tokyo Expo or something like that.
Yeah. So it's been around a long time. So that's why it's such a big deal that now the first Hollywood movie to finally use it, it's very substantial. So you've been a projectionist for some time, starting with 35 and then 70 and then graduating to IMAX. Was it a significant leap in terms of skill level? Did projecting on 35 actually help prepare you for projecting on IMAX, or was it just a completely different beast?
It helps, but it is so different the way the projector is threaded. That is like the biggest difference. Like with 35, you just thread it, and you've got your intermittent sprocket, and you make sure you've got your loop above and below the intermittent sprocket, and it's not going to touch the case of the projector or anything like that. So that's not in IMAX at all. We've got a rolling loop, and it has to be perfect. You cannot be one sprocket hole off in your sizing. It won't work. Like with 35, you could be up to 3 sprocket holes off.
Oh, really? Okay.
And depending on the projector, you could have your loops real big or real small, and it'll still be fine. But with IMAX, there's no room for error. You've got to do it perfectly.
I feel like a lot of people will look at the whole workflow for getting the film from the platter to the projector, and they'll be like, is all this actually necessary? Like, why do you need to do all of this just to make sure it gets to there? So my follow-up question is, the moment a showtime starts and the film starts traveling through the projector, what are some things you're looking for right away to make sure everything runs smoothly?
Yeah, so one of the first things I'm looking for is, did the dowser open? The wall between the lamp and the lens, so it stays closed, so no light can go through. Once it opens, then it can go through and go on screen. So I look for, getting on screen. I listen for audio. Don't trust the audio in the booth, though. The booth monitor, you can be hearing everything, but the audience, it could be nothing. What we do is, like, I'll put my hand on the wall and feel like if it starts with a lot of bass, like, okay, I know that's going. Or open my head out the window, or just walk out to the balcony or something.
And does every booth, so I know at the theater you work at, obviously there's that booth upstairs where you can actually open it and you can hear.
Yeah.
But not every booth is designed to have a window, right? Or do they mostly have?
No, they all have windows, but they don't all have windows that open. Like the Metreon in San Francisco, it's just a big wall of glass. You can't, I don't believe there's a window to open to, like, stick your head out or anything.
Right. So the only way for the projectionist there to know that sound is off is if, like you told me, they get a phone call from someone who's actually down there checking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, basically. The other thing we look for is always look at the film path to make sure the film is on the rollers correctly. The rollers are spinning. That's another thing I think I showed you, where I put some white paint on each roller, just a dot, so as it spins, you can see it moving. Because sometimes the roller seize up, and then the film's just dragging across. I also look at the feed unit, which some people call the brain. Like 35, we call it the brain.
Okay.
We want to make sure it's not wrapped. We don't have a brain wrap, because that's going to be a big problem.
Right.
And
have you encountered that before with IMAX?
yeah.
Okay. I figure like I know I wouldn't say it's like a common thing, but
for IMAX it's very rare. With like Strong and Christie platters, it's pretty common.
Okay.
But you can deal with them a lot easier. With IMAX, a brain wrap is much harder to. You can't deal with it while it's running.
Right.
It's either got to work itself out, or you have to stop and reset.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounds very scary. So explain to the audience what the brain is and what the wrapping of the film means.
Yeah. So it's like the opposite of a vinyl record. So the beginning is actually the inside while it's laying on the platter. So we pull from the inside. So as we pull, we put it through this feed unit or brain, and it basically detects where the film is, like in relation to it. So it will spin to try and keep it from getting tangled or anything like that. And it just pulls out nicely, and it's always spinning. So it's just perfect. So what happens is it can spin too fast and just start wrapping around the brain, or it spins too slow and it wraps around the brain. So it can wrap one way or the other. And it's just not fun to see, because with
Can you hear
IMAX,
it? Is it a sound too?
you can hear it. If it's you'll start hearing like it's kind of like struggling to pull the film out, and you'll kind of hear like sounds of like the sprocket holes like getting stretched maybe. And you'll hear it, and the projector won't necessarily shut down to save it. It'll just crash usually. So you got to stop it when you determine like it's not going to work itself out. I got to stop it and manually fix this.
And at that point, stopping an IMAX film, or you can correct me if like any film showing, I guess, but IMAX film in particular, stopping it mid-show, you can't just rewind it. That show is basically like, unless you have a DCP as a backup, the rest of the movie is just not playing, right?
No, it's not lost.
Oh, okay.
It could be lost depending on what happens, but if everything's working right, you can stop the projector. It will slow down gracefully. It won't hurt anything, and it will stay in sync.
Okay.
So you can press start again, and the audience will miss about 16 seconds of the movie from the slowdown and then ramping back up to start. But the sound will stay in sync.
Okay.
And you'll be able to start up. And I actually did it two days ago.
Okay. All right. For some reason, I thought that all hope was lost when
If you have to do an emergency stop, yeah, you're done, because it's like a sudden stop, and then it will damage the sprockets, and you've got to cut that film out and replace it with black.
Got it. Okay. That's also another interesting thing about IMAX film, is that 35 millimeter film and 70 millimeter film, or maybe not, but 35 millimeter film, the sound is imprinted on the physical film. Yeah. And then for IMAX film, you get a separate disc. So you pop the disc in, and then you hit play on the projector, and that automatically triggers the sound to play in sync, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So what we do is we basically go to the Academy leader countdown. So it goes 8, 7 down to 2, and then black, then the picture. So right before the 8, there's a frame that just says picture start. We thread to that in the gate, and then we hit reset frames. So that's frame 0. And then so that tells the projector is frame 0. It tells the audio that it's frame 0. And so now it's synced up and locked basically. And as it turns, there's a shaft encoder in the projector that tells it which frame it's on. As long as that stays in sync, you're going to have good audio. In the audio, we actually have a new system called the F-Pack. So we're not playing directly from CDs anymore, anything like that. And even before this, we didn't play from the CD. We would actually ingest the CD, basically copy it to the system, and it would play directly off the system. And so now we finally upgraded to USB thumb drives, and now we can get audio that way.
Was that, when was that development?
Project Hail Mary was when they first started testing a couple of units in theaters. They've made some upgrades with the firmware, and as far as I know, it's deployed everywhere at every theater now.
Okay. Well, good for them.
It's a lot better than the old D-Tech,
Right.
which was like 30 years old.
Yeah.
It was it was on Windows 98. It was horrible.
Right. Okay, we kind of talked about this, but explain the process of threading IMAX film and why on the outside it can look so complex.
Yeah, and it looks complex to me too when I first walked into the IMAX booth, because you've got the platters, and sometimes you have like 6 platters, and it's like, what the heck? This is a lot of stuff. And you've got, it looks like 100 rollers.
I mean, it does look like 100 doesn't seem like an exaggeration.
No, it's a lot. And so a lot of times, a lot of these theaters used to play 3D, so you'd have a right eye print and a left eye print,
right?
And you'd thread them both together, and that's why you need double the amount of rollers you would normally need. So you've got all these rollers, you're coming out, and basically the concept is to get the film aligned with the projector so it can go through the projector, and then coming back, we can do all this stuff to get it aligned back to the platter. And, you know, basically auto rewinding itself as it's playing. It's winding back around the ring.
Right. The amount of rollers is very specific because you have to keep the film tight too. Like there can't be any slack.
Yeah, no slack. The slack is prevented by the feed unit. So coming between the feed unit and the projector, there's a nice tension roller on there that keeps tension on the film just enough to keep it from falling down. And then on the way back, we've got this arm that kind of detects.
Right.
We wrap it around the film around it and then into the platter, and it kind of detects how much film is coming out. And its job is to keep the arm like right here. So it's always spinning at whatever rate it needs to spin to keep the arm right here to have that same tension.
If you miss one of them, is it okay?
No.
Okay.
No, you can't miss any.
Okay.
It's because there's one part where you could kind of miss it, but
and you showed that to me.
The alignment would be wrong.
All right.
Yeah, you saw that. So, yeah, it's got to be the right way, because the tension, that's like super important to make sure it's spinning at the correct speed.
But once the film is threaded through every necessary roller, that step is pretty much like you don't have to sweat about it anymore. Like there's nothing that could go wrong with the rollers, right?
As long as you've got tension, the film's not going to fall out or anything like that. But always want to keep checking your film path like every 20 minutes. Like just make sure, shine some light on both sides of it, see if you see any scratches or anything, because it'll reflect back. But you know, nothing ever changes really, but you just want to always, a paranoid projectionist is a good projectionist.
Yes. This might be a fun one, and you might not have heard any at all, but what are some misconceptions you hear about IMAX film all the time?
Ooh. Well, there's one that's not really a misconception, but it is something that people don't understand is, there's no soundtrack, so it has to stay in sync. So if any film within the feature needs to be cut out because it got damaged, it needs to be replaced with exactly that many frames of black, also called slug.
Okay. So,
and that's just to keep the audio in sync, because the audio doesn't know that it's missing 10 frames.
Right.
So that's just one thing most people don't know, and most people will never watch a film that has something like that in it, because everyone's a pro now. Like everyone's really, really good. So damaging film's pretty rare.
Do you remember the last time that you encountered a situation where you had to insert slug into the film?
It was actually on Oppenheimer, the last screening I had to do at the Metreon. I had to stop the projector for some reason at the beginning of the movie. I can't remember. I think maybe the dowser was stuck and wouldn't open, so I was going to stop it. But the projector had a mind of its own, and it just stopped too fast, and it stretched a bunch of sprocket holes. So I had to remove all of those, and it was like,
how much?
It actually was a lot, because it actually affected the film all the way back to the platter.
Okay.
And so it ended up being like 50 or 60 feet. It was a lot. And there's no frame counters in IMAX booths, not like we have with 35.
Okay.
So it's like, it's really hard to count.
Damn. So how did you end up even approach like you were just manually counting black frames until you reached however many damaged frames there were?
Basically, yeah. Or I had another guy with me who was more experienced in. I think what we did was we took the damaged part and we took black and we just kind of held them together and then just went like that. And that was a good way to quickly get an estimate before we started to have to get real precise about it.
Would you say that was probably the most extreme example of that happening?
Yeah.
And
it sucked because it was my last showing of Oppenheimer too, because I was leaving town the very next day.
Something had to happen.
Yeah.
All right. This is something I've always just wanted to ask a projectionist. IMAX obviously started as a documentary company, so most of their films are around 40 minutes. Even those 40-minute documentaries weren't shipped as their entire prints. Like they were shipped in sections that the projectionist then had to assemble into the full print, right?
Yeah.
So they can be sent as either 3.5-minute reels that need to be spliced together, so the very small reels, or as reels that are slightly bigger, like maybe 30 to 40 minutes. And then you have to splice them all together. Do you remember how long it took for you to construct the full print for the first time you did it? And now how long would it take you today?
Actually, believe it or not, Odyssey was the first movie I've ever built in IMAX.
Really?
Yeah, like when I go, usually the print's already built. I did halfway build Project Hail Mary, but I had a guy like helping me, teach me, because he's been doing it for decades, and I've just never had the opportunity, really. I know when they were doing like features with each reel, it would take a day and a half for them to do it. For me, it would took real time. It took about 3 hours for me to build Odyssey. We've got a makeup table. We've got the makeup table with the big platter on it, and we thread it to the take-up platter. And so we turn on the speed, and it just starts spinning and going.
Your projector that you worked with recently is an SR projector, right? Okay. So some IMAX projectors are water-cooled. You work with an SR projector that's not water-cooled. So explain the cooling process for that and how hot these machines can sometimes get.
They can get kind of hot, but we've basically got a really great exhaust fan that just sucks the heat out the top of the lamp house. And that's basically it. That's how it's cooled, just like a 35mm projector.
And then the water, what is the water cooling process?
Yeah, the water, there's like on the roof, there's a chiller, and it's a circulated water system. So water comes in, it cools it down, and it sends it back through, and then it goes to the projector, and it comes back a little warmer, and it's just constantly cooling it.
And they are more rare, or which one is more common?
I feel like the SR is more common these days. The chillers are real pain, because if the chiller goes out on the roof, you're not going to know until the projector shuts down from overheating.
Right.
And you've got it's not an IMAX fix. You got to call an HVAC guy to come out, and you know how responsive they can be. So unfortunately, you might not get like if your show at 10 p.m. goes down, you're not getting a tech out there until the morning.
Right. But you've dealt with them. Like, is the Metreon water cooled?
Yeah, the Metreon is, and back in Nashville, where I'm from, the Opry Mills one is water cooled also.
So you got experience with that.
Yeah.
Kind of panic.
Yeah.
All right. Not many people know about the bulb for these film projectors and how expensive and delicate they are. What is the process for switching one out, and how much do they cost?
I actually have never switched out an IMAX lamp. I think it's pretty similar to the 35 from what I understand. But like you open it up and there are like all these mirrors and reflectors. Like with 35, you got basically a cone reflector. With IMAX, it's like mirrors and mirrors, and it's just so weird looking. But I've never had to replace one. At TCL, we've got a 7 kilowatt lamp, which apparently is a lot.
Okay.
I mean, that's just what I know, but I've had some, I guess some electricians or something like comment on X on some of my posts, and they're like, I can't believe that's more power than my whole house takes.
It's a very strong roll. Yeah, because I've seen photos like you have to wear special gloves because you don't want to get oils on the bulb.
And you got to wear full leather outfit.
Oh, okay. So
and face mask. It's got the xenon gas, and it's under pressure. And if it blows, it's like a grenade, and it's just glass going everywhere, and they're pretty dangerous.
What could cause it to blow? Just like accidentally hitting it against something?
Jostling it.
Okay.
If they're warm, if they're just like right out of a projector, like that's just finished a show, they're very likely to just explode.
Damn. But you've never seen that happen?
I've seen it on 35, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not with IMAX. I have seen, like, sometimes what they'll do is they'll package it back up in the box and then throw the box to try and break it while it's inside the box. Because if they throw it in the trash or something, it could explode and hurt somebody. So they try to explode it beforehand.
It's like the Hurt Locker, but with IMAX light bulbs. This is a fun question. I've asked Taylor this, and he had a funny answer, but I want to hear your answer.
Okay.
So, due to the intricate process and necessary oversight required for projecting a movie on IMAX film, are you able to go to the bathroom while the movie is running?
Yes.
Oh, you can. Okay, because Taylor said that he doesn't even risk it.
When you gotta go, you gotta go.
Has anything ever happened while you were gone?
No.
Okay.
You're really supposed to be there the whole time. That doesn't surprise me about Taylor. Like that's the way he is.
I mean, yeah, when you're working every theater is important, obviously, but City Walk is the flagship. Mm-hmm. So if anything bad goes there, it just sets a bad precedent for the rest of the format. So I can understand why he's so paranoid to just want to keep his eyes glued to everything in there.
Yeah, he's very detail oriented.
My last few questions are rapid fire. What is your favorite movie in IMAX?
I think probably Dunkirk, because it was the first one, and that opening shot in the city with the papers blowing. That was breathtaking when I saw that. That was just incredible.
Yeah, there are only 2 IMAX film movies in my memory that I could hear people gasp during the opening shot. Dunkirk was one, and The Dark Knight was the other.
Oh,
and they both involve buildings. Mm-hmm. And my theory is that because we just know how big buildings are, so when you put that on the screen and you feel like you're just actually in the city, it just has a huge effect on you. There's a shot in The Odyssey when they've just left the shore and they're walking in the forest. It's basically the establishing shot of the forest, and it has that same effect. We know how big trees are. You just feel like you're looking through a window and you're just actually there.
Yeah.
And buildings and trees just really help sell that scale.
I think you're right. I like that theory.
Yeah, it's those 2 moments. I always hear people go, like it's fun. All right, hardest movie you've projected in IMAX?
Oppenheimer.
Because of that one?
Well, no, not because of that, but because of like just the day-to-day. That was when, because the movie was so long, we had to get these platter extenders.
Right.
Which are like, extend the platter like this. Right. This much, so we could actually fit the film on there.
And it's crazy that this much is like accounting for 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes?
Yeah, maybe, yeah. So doing that and then just dealing with that, and then it was brand new, so all these extenders were 3D printed back then. Now they're molded, they've upgraded, and the film would be right here. So if the film like moved to try to fall off the platter, this would stop it. So the parts that screwed in would kind of come out of the bottom of the 3D printed extender, and then you couldn't get it back in. Once it's out, you couldn't get back in. A lot of projectionists got really creative with how to deal with that problem.
It was left to them, like they were the ones who had to figure it out.
Well, IMAX would send us a bunch of like spares and everything, and at one point, some theaters were going through spares left and right, and then the IMAX couldn't keep up because it was just so crazy. But we got through it. We found some really great solutions, and now they're all molded, and I haven't heard of any fails yet.
And I think people need to remember that Oppenheimer was pretty much the first big theatrical release in that format since like 2017.
Yeah. Well,
or because Tenet had a very small, like it played in maybe 6 theaters or something like that.
Yeah, and you probably had to have like 10 seats between each person.
Right.
And,
and I think that most people, like, I know for the Odyssey, they've been training a lot of projectionists, but for Oppenheimer, was it a lot of new faces in the field, or was it a lot of old people returning to the
I
format that had been touched in a
I
while?
think it was all old people. I don't know of any new people that got trained for that one. And everyone I worked with, I had worked with before on Dunkirk. So I'm not sure, but I do know on Project Hail Mary, they trained a lot of people in Dallas, like the employees. And on this one, for Odyssey, I'm training the projectionists at the TCL. And I think other theaters are doing that where their regular employees are learning how to do IMAX. So they'll always be ready to do it.
Right. I think I'm going to piggyback off of the question I asked you. One of the main misconceptions that always bothers me, because that obviously it sucks that there are only 41 theaters that can show this movie in this format, and people always just have the bright idea, why don't they just build more screens?
Right.
Whereas like I don't think people really understand how much of a financial cost that is, but also how much manpower is required for that, because like you've been detailing this whole time, being a projectionist requires a lot of experience. How long would you say it takes for someone to go from not knowing anything to becoming proficient?
Oh, it's going to be a long time because so there are a few things that I think are essential to, because not everybody can do it. Even people that really want to do it, they shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
And they'll get kicked out of the booth for damaging a print. So being able to troubleshoot is a huge deal, and understanding systems and signal flow and all that. So if there's a problem, you can say, okay, here's a problem. Why? And then if you have troubleshooting skills, you're going to know, okay, these are the things I need to look at. If a person can't demonstrate troubleshooting skills, they're not cut out for it. They're just, even if they want to be a projectionist, they shouldn't be, and they're not going to make it. So, and also seeing problems, like having the experience of dealing with a brain wrap under pressure, or dealing with it, like back in the 35 days, dealing with an interlock at midnight for a premiere of The Matrix. Like those are like big high pressure stuff. And like, if you can stay cool, calm and collected, and if something goes wrong, you don't freak out and you don't just start pressing buttons and everything and making it worse. So there's just like that, those kinds of like crazy things that you can't really train for necessarily. You just need to have those experiences. So one of the things that I do when I was training 35 millimeter projectionists, and when I trained the TCL guys, well, first 35, everyone wants to see what it looks like when the film burns in the projector.
Okay.
So I will burn the film in the projector for them so they can see it and they'll be satisfied and know what it's like. And then we pull it out and we fix it together. So they learn how to splice and fix the damaged film. You can't do that with IMAX.
Right, you can.
But one thing I'll do is I'll let the projectionist thread everything. And then when they're not looking, I will go and sabotage their show. And I'll, not while it's running or anything, but I will take, the film and put it on the wrong roller, or make it not on the roller completely, or leave a gate open or something like that. And I'll say, I did something to this, find out what I did and fix it. And sometimes maybe I didn't do anything, but I just want them to look and get a little paranoid about it.
And have you ever had them like come up to you and say like, I don't think you did anything, or will they be looking for like...
No, they are always convinced I did something, and they just don't know what it is, and they just want me to tell them.
But that's a good strategy.
Yeah. So I think that's been very effective for helping people learn like what to do and what to look for before they press start.
And on top of that, the reason why it's so hard to become a proficient IMAX projectionist. This year we had Project Hail Mary, we have Odyssey now, and we have Dune Part 3 later. But most of the time, we don't get any movie.
Yeah, it's like every 2 or 3 years.
Get that experience,
right?
And then, like Odyssey right now, it's gonna play for a good amount of time, but still not enough time to, I would say, become an expert, right?
If you are already knew 35 and then got trained on this, and did a good job during Odyssey, I would consider you an expert.
Okay.
That would be sufficient.
Okay.
But training somebody from nothing, like there are some IMAX projectionists that don't know 35. Like they start with 15, 70, that's all they know. And they'll probably learn DCP too. But yeah, coming like off the street from zero, it's really tough because because with IMAX training somebody that knows 35, I can say, okay, well, this is the brain, this is the platter, this is the take up, this is the payout, this is the whatever sprocket, or replaces the intermittent sprocket. Like we've got this language, but with somebody that doesn't know anything, it's like, where do you start? It would be very difficult.
Right. Yeah. So that's the training aspect. And then to create an actual true IMAX screen auditorium, you'd probably have to knock down a ceiling. You'd have to replace the seats to sort of get it close to stadium seating, because stadium seating is very important to that immersion. People are always asking for recliners in these theaters, but I'm like, that's counterintuitive to the experience of it.
Yeah.
And then, like, again, Odyssey is going to do well this year. It's going to make money, but that isn't even a guarantee for every movie released in this format for it to do well financially.
Well, let's talk about Joker 2.
Right.
I got a call like, hey, Jesse, get ready for Joker 2. We're going to do it. And they're like, hey, Jesse, we're not doing it anymore.
Yeah, it's just I don't think people understand just how much money it'll take, how much training will be required, and then how long it'll be until it's profitable. And that's only for one auditorium. Like, so if they're asking for IMAX to build 50 more auditoriums,
it's not IMAX. From like, I was in multiplex world for a long time, and being a manager of a theater, like you kind of get to see behind the scenes. Like, it's not like IMAX is building an IMAX theater. It's like Regal, AMC saying we want IMAX, and they do all the licensing and stuff. But they've got to build that tall screen. They've got to build an auditorium for that, and not every place can do something like that. Like with Opry Mills, that projector there, that actually is a mall right now with the Regal, but it actually used to be a theme park with an IMAX.
Oh, okay.
They tore down the theme park, left the IMAX, they built the mall and the movie theater around the IMAX.
How long ago was that they got rid of the theme park?
It was late 90s.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And it's the same projector, everything.
So they're doing well there, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, they're doing good, but they don't pull out that film projector, but whenever they need to. So most of the time it's just sitting there getting dusty. Because they've got DCP there running most of the time. And honestly, theater managers don't like film because when it breaks, they have to hand out passes to a full house.
Right.
Digital DCP is much more reliable. It doesn't break. It doesn't look as good, but it's a lot less headache for them.
Yeah, it's like when it's not your money on the line, when it's not your mental stability on the line, it's really easy to tell people to just build more theaters, but it's so much harder.
Like you said, we've got 3 movies we knew from the beginning we're going to do great.
Right.
What do we have next year?
I don't even know. And that's something I should know, but I don't even know.
We don't have any. The next one that I know about is Black Panther 3, which will come out in a couple years.
Right.
I don't think we have anything substantial next year or even the year after maybe.
Right.
So like, what are those theaters going to do? They're going to have to get a digital projector also. And if they have digital, why go back to film? You can, but
yeah,
the theater managers, they don't like film that much. They like the DCP because they don't have to hand out as many passes when it goes bad.
Yeah, it's just funny because like obviously now it's becoming a more popular format, so people are learning about it for the first time this year, and they're like, well, why aren't there more? It's like, well, this format has existed for the past 20 years, but you guys weren't there to support it back then, and that's not their fault. But like it took 20 years for it to get to this point of being this popular, and it's still only for one movie. So,
Yeah, it's not like all these theaters that a lot of theater, they used to have a lot more IMAX projectors out there, and they got rid of them once digital became the thing to do. And honestly, I don't think that they expected this to happen. I don't think they thought, well, we'll bring the film back.
Right.
We'll do that.
Right.
No, I think they thought it was just going to be digital for the rest forever.
don't blame them. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, but yeah, now with the film, now you can't go back. The projectors are gone. They only have so many projectors in the world, and you got to to build the space. Like that's one of the hardest things. Not every theater can just say, okay, yeah, we'll add a few more stories and do this. It's just not feasible.
Right. Yeah. All right. Last question. What is a movie that wasn't shot on IMAX film that you wish was?
The first one I think of, and actually the aspect ratio would work for this, would be Night of the Hunter. Going way back, I think that would look like a black and white IMAX movie would just look sick. It would be awesome.
I like that answer. I was expecting something much more modern, but that's a good answer.
Yeah. And The Devil and Daniel Webster. Doubleheader.
Okay.
They're both on Criterion.
Okay.
Oh man, they go together so well. It's so great. Gotta watch both
All right,
of them.
noted. And I'll watch it through the lens of what if this was a 1:3 aspect ratio film.
Well, like Night of the Hunter is it's 1:3.
Okay.
So it's pretty close already, and it's like a fairy tale. It's really so great. I just love it.
All right, good to know. Well, my answer for that question is much more recent, kind of Speed Racer. Have you seen it?
I saw parts of it when I might have seen the whole thing when it was on 35 back in the day, because we would break down movies every Thursday night and build movies and then screen them after all the movies were overnight. So I might have seen that one. Very colorful, very
colorful.
bright. Just
that'd be
wild.
sick in an IMAX auditorium like that. Hopefully you learned a lot. I feel like if you're jumping into this video not really knowing anything, it's a lot of terminology and it's a lot of technical jargon to overcome, but it's just such a fascinating format. And I even though it's still niche, all things considered, I'm glad that it's as popular as it is now. And I'm again, I have so much respect for projectionists and what they do, so I'm glad that we got to talk about this. And thank you for joining me and lending your knowledge and experience. Thank you.
You're welcome.